All right, we've broken the threshold of 50. So I think we can get started.
Great.
All right, if everyone wouldn't mind, please putting your microphone on mute. I think we all know the
Sure.
Zoom routine now. And if you wouldn't mind also turning off your camera during the presentation. Everybody knows about the chat box in Zoom. So during the presentation, if you have questions for Peter or John, if you would type those into the chat box, and we'll try to keep track of that. And if we have time at the end of the presentation, we'll ask some of these questions. So welcome everybody to our lunch speaker series. I'm Eric Stager. I'm the president of the board of Travis Audubon Society. I want to welcome you all to this very popular lunchtime series that we've been doing. It is back, and we've got talks every Thursday, at least through the end of August right now, on topics relating to birding and conservation. So thanks for joining. I want to thank everyone who's donated to Travis Audubon during the COVID-19 crisis. Your support has kept our organization afloat during this time and has made virtual programming like this possible. So thank you very much. And we will share a donation link in the chat also. Your continuing support is much appreciated. So I'll get started on the presentation here soon. So once again, if everyone could go on mute and turn off your camera just to reduce any distractions. Now, let me introduce our speakers today. I'm very excited to have John Cahill and Peter Sunshine Cahill. You may have heard John and Peter's parents, Rob and Tara, speak at a Travis Audubon meeting back, I think it was in the fall of 2019. Rob and Tara Cahill run the Community Cloud Forest Conservation, which is a nonprofit that provides some really amazing programs in conservation, education, and leadership for young women and men from remote villages in the Central Highlands of Guatemala. And the Cahills are a birding family. John and Peter grew up in Guatemala and have been real leaders of what I think is a growing number of just fantastic birders in Guatemala. I was fortunate to participate in a birding tour that John led back in January of 2019. And I can't recommend Guatemala highly enough as a birding destination. It's just a beautiful country. The people are just so wonderful and friendly, and the birding is just absolutely fantastic. So it should definitely be on every birder's list once we can hopefully resume travels in the near future. Peter Sunshine Cahill is a cartographer, an artist, and a gardener from Cuban, Alta Verapaz in Guatemala. And he's coming to us from Chicago, Illinois. As a family, the Cahills have worked in bird conservation and community development in Guatemala for over 19 years. Peter and John have birded extensively across Guatemala, and the two of them are bird guides for chicanel birding and work in various capacities with Community Cloud Forest Conservation. So with that, Peter and John, I will turn it over to you.
Great. Hello, everyone. Thanks, Eric. Welcome to Cloud Forest Birds and Where to Find Them. I don't know if probably a lot of you participated in the lunch series last week with Kevin Anderson. He led us on a little bit of a tour down the Colorado River in Texas, and showing us some key bird habitats and conservation issues that you all face in Travis County and around the state of Texas, and in the Colorado watershed. The path I'd like to lead you on today is a kind of parallel path in that it follows the Usumacinta River, but rather than going down from the top to the seashore, I'd like to actually take us up as if we were coming from Texas across the Gulf and then venturing up the Usumacinta River into the highlands of Guatemala. Kind of a backdoor entrance it may be, because given that we're not actually traveling there on a plane, we can kind of choose the route that we want to take. So the first stop along our way, as we've gotten across the Gulf of Mexico, is on the shore of the Gulf, right at the mouth of the river. here, among many other seabirds and shorebirds, we might see some Wilson's phalaropes. These are birds you may be familiar with in Austin, Texas. They sometimes come by the wastewater treatment plant there, and kind of fly along the river and as they're migrating north to their breeding grounds in Canada. They also, on their fall migration, come down and fly along riverways and up through mountain lakes in the cloud forest, and we've seen them several times on migration in the Highland Lakes. Very rare bird for that place. So as we venture further up the river, following this migration route, we come to the lagoons, these lowland lagoons at the beginning of the foothills. These are very lush green jungle lagoons that are fed by water that comes down the mountain from the cloud forests. So very lush, very full of clean, fresh water, and it's part of this whole ecosystem. So, John, could you tell us a little bit about this bird here that we might see at this location?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. I'm John, and when I'm walking in the cloud forest, especially in the lowland foothills of Guatemala, kind of lowland foothills bordering on cloud forest, one of the most impressive birds we can see is the nightingale wren. Now, it doesn't look all that impressive because it's a little kind of brown, really dark bird, and he likes to keep to the shadows. So really, really difficult to see. But the song is just spectacular. I don't know if we can hear the song in the presentation there, Peter, if you want to hit that.
Yeah, let me actually. One second.
Anyway, this bird is one of the most difficult birds to see. And it's not that, it's not that impressive when you actually see it. But when you hear it, which is pretty much all day long when you're walking in the foothills or in cloud forest like I am now, that the song is just is kind of overpowering, and it just dominates the whole landscape. And this is coming from a very small wren, a very small bird. So, I mean, it's not a really popular bird because it's not really flashy. Now we can hear it.
There we go. Sorry about that.
So these clear notes that we're hearing right now are coming from this tiny little bird. It's a little bit smaller than a house wren, and he'll be just in the understory, so usually on the ground or close to the ground, and just making this incredibly loud sound. It's hard to appreciate when we're hearing it over online, but the sound is extremely loud, and it's just coming from under the leaves of the understory, or on the ground, kind of in the leaf litter. He's hopping around in there making this song, and so it's just a spectacular bird. Cool.
Another bird that you might find on the forest floor, also in these lowland forests, and also it's been expanding its range up to higher elevations, up to the cloud forest, and even beyond what its historic range used to be, is the pheasant cuckoo. So John, I think, could you tell us also about your experience with this bird?
Yeah, so this is another secretive bird. I don't know if you're noticing the pattern of just secretive birds that we're talking about here in the cloud forest. But this bird is really hard to find, really hard to lay eyes on, but you can hear it all the time. It's got a beautiful whistled song. And then its behavior is very interesting because he'll be feeding on the ground and he makes a little grunting or scraping noise while he moves his wings and tail. And then, that noise and plus the movement will scare up insects. Then he'll charge forward to where the insects have been scared to and pick them up off the ground. So we're going to see that in a second. But first, we're going to hear what the bird sounds like and get to see it sing.
So yeah, we'll be hearing this all the time. Amazing.
So it's kind of a tremulous song, usually 3 to 4 notes. And he'll do this from a low perch in the understory. And in the mating season, you can hear both the male and female. They have different songs and they'll be communicating to each other. But here at the Cloud Forest Conservation Center, we hear them all year long. And they're back in the forest, but we almost never get to see these. The other day, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I was lucky enough to see a young bird, which is, recently fledged young, still has the juvenile plumage. You can see that creamy underbelly there, or the throat and breast and underbelly are creamy, and also a creamy supercilium. That's what lets us know that that's a juvenile. And here we can hear the sound it makes while it feeds.
So John, you were describing this as a foraging behavior, not a mating display, as this is a juvenile bird, right? So
yeah,
this,
exactly.
It kind of does this kind of flushing, sort of like an American redstart does with its wings and its tail kind of flaring it out to, I'd imagine, to scare up insects and chase after bugs.
Yeah, so this bird was out in the open at the CCFC Center. And yeah, these are my videos. And this bird, because it's a juvenile, probably hasn't learned yet to, be afraid of people. And so it was really cooperative, just coming right out of the open and picking up all kinds of, worms and any little insect it could find in the grass.
There it goes going right now. Yeah.
Yeah, the sound is really cool that it makes.
Yeah, the bird book describes it as the sound of a wind-up toy, kind of this kind of mechanical. It doesn't really sound like a bird call. Great, thanks, John. So yeah, as we venture up, so we passed the Laguna Brava and Laguna La Chua and the low foothills. We go up into the foothills here. So we're moving upstream more, further up towards the mountains. And we get to this very special location, Finca Nubes, which one of our local partners with CCFC has a private forest reserve, cloud forest reserve that is some of the low elevation cloud forest in Guatemala. Very rare forest habitat because of deforestation. A lot of this low elevation cloud forest is really being lost, and so this is a very unique habitat. One of the first birds we would hear here if we go in the dawn would be the yellow-backed Oriole. Very beautiful, beautiful song, whistled song as well. And it is just amazing display of color. This bird is also at the CCFC Center. One of the most common birds. It'll even come right up, get really close looks at it there. Very active, always jumping around and going in large flocks. Another bird we might hear from a distance, or hopefully get some close views, would be this this pale-billed woodpecker, which is a close relative of the extinct ivory-billed woodpecker of the States, which is a very, very large woodpecker, larger than pileated, and it does this very loud double tap. That's a communication call. It will find a big hollow trunk and do this dunk dunk double tap that carries for kilometers around through the hills. Very impressive, very powerful woodpecker. In the States, you're probably familiar with this little bird. This is the wood thrush. Very bright little thrush. What I think one of the brightest of its family, with the rusty back there, and it loves kind of edge and forest habitats. So we'd probably see that too. And if we look up into the treetops, we'll see in the flowers, working its way through these flowers, a white-bellied emerald, tiny little hummingbird that is just this brilliant green flash that just zips around, and we can actually hear this. This is a juvenile here that is we found at the CCFC center that is potentially here. We have yet to confirm this, but it appears to be a hybrid between the white-bellied emerald and the more common, more abundant azure crowned hummingbird, which is pretty widespread in the area. Beautiful little hummingbird, just so full of energy. Yeah, so that takes us up higher into the mountains and brings us to the center at Cloud Forest Conservation. So this is our campus. We've got a variety of habitats, but up top you can see the classic look of the cloud forest with the towering oak trees, and the clouds just constantly kind of settled over the treetops with dripping moisture onto the moss and orchids in the cloud forest there. And this presentation about birds of Guatemala wouldn't be complete, of course, without mentioning the resplendent quetzal, the iconic national bird of Guatemala, and one of the sacred birds to the Maya people, the indigenous Maya people. Of course, this is a spectacular feathered serpent, as it's known. Just bright colors and yeah, it's a bird that only lives in cloud forest. So now these following birds will be cloud forest specialists, we like to call them, birds that really they may sometimes migrate through other areas, but locally, but mostly are only found in cloud forests, and it's a really special community of birds and other fauna too.
Hey, Peter, if you wouldn't mind just going back to that slide that you showed, the CCFC campus.
Oh, sure. Yeah. There we are.
Yeah, so the bit of the CCFC campus that you guys can see at the top of the mountain that's got that cloud kind of filtering through, that's where I am right now. And I'm hearing a yellowish flycatcher right behind me to my right, and I've got slate colored solitaire singing to my left, and then more distant is white-faced quail dove is calling right now. So just wanted to
wow.
share that with people. I'm right up in there where you can see the cloud in the forest. Yeah, yeah. So that's a kind of cool thing.
Awesome, John.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Cool. Yeah, so that yellowish flycatcher, that's the one that's on the top right-hand side here. So that's what you're seeing right now, John, right?
Yeah, my connection's not that great. I'm just seeing this. Oh yeah, okay, now I got it. Yeah,
Yep,
that's
there
the
we go.
yellowish flycatcher there on the top corner. Yeah.
Awesome. So even though we can't see it in your video, we can kind of see what it looks like on this on the screen here. Another bird, we wouldn't have these at the center, but they'll be a little higher up the mountain, is this very special bird, the Azure Hooded J. It's a little bit different than the blue jay or Steller's jay you have in Texas in the States. This bird is a little quieter than most jays. It still makes a raucous jay sound, but it kind of sulks in the shadows and kind of evokes the personality of a cloud forest, which is kind of dark, wet, and mysterious. And but when you see these birds with their bright blue hoods, it's just such a spectacular and elegant bird. One of my favorite cloud forest birds. Another special bird to the region. This is a subspecies of the northern pygmy owl, and there's a lot of debate as to the taxonomy of this and whether it should be actually separate separated as its own species called the Guatemalan Pygmy Owl. And I think that the taxonomy there is just due to lack of studies that have been done on the owl. And so I think with more information, we'll find that it is a genetically separate group and a unique bird to the cloud forest region. This is just a little fun fact here. This region, because it's such a unique region, has a lot of these taxons which are very particular to the area. So the town where we are is Coban. So you can see this reflected in the Latin name of this pygmy owl, Glaucidium cobanense. We also have a small lizard that was recently, in the last 10 years, described to science, Norops cobanensis. It's a little brown anole. You can see it on top of this bromeliad, very well camouflaged. It's one of the most abundant lizards, but was only recently described due to, yeah, as I said, just lack of scientific research in the area. So this area is very understudied, and I think with more local biologists and CCFCs doing a lot of research in the area, just making new discoveries. This tiny frog, Plectrohyla kekchi. So kekchi is the indigenous name of the local language group, and that's the majority of people that we work with doing education programs speak the kekchi language. Here, this little frog is named after their language group because it is a frog that is endemic to the region, endemic not only to the region, but to just the couple mountains in the area where we work. So highly endangered frog, and very little is known about it. We've only have a few records from about 30 or 15-mile radius, probably. Another similar situation is with the Plectrohyla pocomchi, which is the other language group just to the south of us. So just over the mountain is the pocomchi, and we have both these frogs overlap in range at the campus. These both of these are juvenile metamorphs. Both of these frogs. So the adults actually have a brilliant red and green mottled tones, but they're very hard to find and mostly spend their whole lives up in the canopy of the forest. So I've actually never seen the adult of this species in person because they're so hard to get to, and that's why they're so understudied. We've already mentioned the pale-billed woodpecker. Its Latin name is Campiophilus guatemalensis. You can kind of gather from the Latin name that it's described to science in Guatemala. It's this one, very, very special woodpecker to us. And lastly, the Grallaria guatemalensis, the scaled antpitta. This bird is just really funny looking bird. We call it in our family a tennis ball on legs because it just looks so funky. It has these really long legs and kind of bounces around. Acts like a thrush, but you only see it really in the wee hours of the morning, and it kind of keeps to the shadows and is a very secretive bird. But it's become very locally popular as people are learning more about birds in the region. Everyone's like really loves to see this bird, and visitors also often come and just want to get a look at this bird. So we spend a lot of time tracking where to find this bird and where the best places to find this. But it's still a shot in the dark to really get a good look at this bird. So that brings us even higher up into the mountaintops, the high cloud forest. Yeah, John, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, sure. Gene just commented on the chat there that the scaled antpitta is a bird that we saw at Max's farm. So you were just talking about Max's farm, and now there's this bird, and that's kind of the emblematic species for really either the Coban area in general, but also specifically Max's private reserves. Both of them have this species. So just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, so that's great to hear. Yeah, I wasn't along on that Travis trip, but that's amazing that you guys were able to find that. But yeah, that is one of the best places to observe the bird is, and Max and his assistant Pedro are always kind of hiking that path every day and kind of checking what time they see the bird and really monitoring its movements. And so whenever we visit there, they really help point us right in the right direction to have the best chances to see this really secretive bird. Wonderful. So as I was mentioning, now we move to the high cloud forest, and this, if you thought that the previous parts were spectacular, this is where it really gets amazing. The towering oak trees, kind of up where John is, he's probably under some of these really towering oak trees, and up on the bigger mountains on Las Minas, Yalihush, and by the Quetzal Reserve, you get this really pristine habitat with just clouds constantly rolling through. Even on the brightest sunny day, down in the forest, it's just cloudy and always constantly dripping moisture. And this is really iconic habitat for your favorite bird, the Golden-cheeked Warbler. So John, actually, since you're on, do you want to tell us a little bit about this experience watching a Golden-cheeked Warbler?
Yeah, sure. So Golden-cheeked Warbler for us is a very special bird. And for you guys, it's a special bird too, because they're nesting right in your area. But then for us, it's a special bird because they're wintering just in this northern Central America area. So it's a very limited range. Their wintering range is very limited. And right here at the CCFC Center, we can see this bird. And then we can also see this bird a little further south. It's a little more abundant on the Pontine Road, the famous Pontine Road, and the Rio Escondido Preserve are great places to see this bird. You know, we've been in feeding flocks where we see, you know, 8 or 9 of these. I think we had a similar experience with Eric on the January trip that we did, where we saw just several of these golden-cheeked warblers in one feeding flock. So this bird that we can see is on the ground here. We were birding the Pontine Road. This was probably 2 years ago. And we saw a male golden cheek way at the top of a really big oak tree. And we're like really excited. We're like, oh, golden cheek. Yeah, male golden cheek. That's great. And then it like lunged for a little grasshopper. And the grasshopper decided to just jump off of the tree. And then it came down and just fell all the way to the road where we were standing. Just a couple feet from us is where the grasshopper fell. And then behind the grasshopper, just plummeting to the ground, comes this male golden-cheeked warbler. And it landed on the ground. You know, you can actually see the grasshopper in the photo. It's kind of a grayish, a little hard to see, but you can see the antenna pointing up from the head of the grasshopper, pointing up to the bill of the golden-cheeked warbler. And so the bird came all the way down, must have dropped maybe 20 yards or so, and just landed right at our feet, and then picked up the grasshopper and took off. So I was able to get that little series of photos just in that quick, you know, moment that it was on the ground in front of us. Just a spectacular bird. It really is. I don't have to tell you guys that, but it really is spectacular. And I want to just take advantage of talking about the golden-cheeked warbler and the JB Journey's trip to Guatemala, that we're going to try to be running the January trip next year. So it's pretty exciting.
Right.
If we get that to work. So everybody's welcome to come down to Guatemala with JB Journeys.
Awesome, John. I think you're starting to cut out a little bit, but I'll take it from here. So in Texas, you might be familiar with the habitat of the golden-cheeked warbler in the ash juniper forest, which to my understanding, even though I haven't visited, are kind of a lower, a little bit scrubby, kind of shorter trees. And that's where the warbler nests. But in Guatemala, mostly we'll see this bird, as John was describing, at the tops of the tallest trees. It really likes old mature forests with old oaks and tall oaks. And so part of CCFC's work, and in part supported by these trips with JB Journeys that John's mentioning, we've been reforesting, and JB Journeys has funded 1.5 acres of golden-cheeked warbler habitat restoration through two years of partnering, having members of Travis Audubon come on these trips. Each tour funds half an acre of habitat, and that reforestation also offsets the carbon for all in-country travel, transit, for the usage during that trip. So your footprint as you're traveling gets offset by the reforestation that we do. And my dad just sent me this photo today of them taking these oak trees up to plant in a corridor between two sections of golden-cheeked warbler habitat that we're connecting with some oak trees. There's already some pine trees in there, but we're mixing them in with oak to make that classic pine oak habitat that the golden-cheeked warblers really like, and making a little biological corridor there. So that's the work of CCFC, kind of every day on the ground, doing good work. So yeah. Another very special warbler to us is the pink-headed warbler, or chipe rosado as they call it in Guatemala, the pink warbler. Very beautiful warbler, just iconic. Also only really only found in high pine oak forest and really high cloud forest on the mountaintops. And here, the top right here, you can see it carrying nesting material. Just a really bright bird, and a really really rare bird to find. So yeah, these are John's photos here. I think John's got some. Yeah, it looks like he's lost connection a bit. The reception is spotty there, but yeah, this warbler is a really special bird to Guatemala and to the cloud forest. Another special bird, very rare to find and sometimes referred to as the unicorn of the Guatemalan cloud forest, is the Horned Guan. This bird is regionally endemic and really endangered species, but is such a cool, unique bird. It's kind of related to a turkey, and it's got this red rubbery horn that looks like some kindergartner just like drew it on there or something. It's really odd bird, and but very secretive and is often hunted. So it is threatened both through habitat loss and hunting. But it's a bird that we're very proud to have and to be conserving this species. Equally hard to see and mythical as the unicorn bird, this maroon-chested ground dove may seem to look like a normal like city pigeon or something, but it's really blue and purpley maroon dove. That it's a small dove, and it lives in really thick, dense parts of the forest. The deepest, darkest part of the cloud forest, and is yeah, often another bird that is more often heard than seen. I've only ever seen this bird once, and I think John has seen it a couple more times than that. But John, are you on right now? You're cutting in and out. Well, John, just this week, just last week, went on a special trek up into a mountain that we'd never climbed before. There's no trails up in there in this really remote piece of cloud forest, and found this bird that we weren't expecting to see up there. And yeah, just a really special encounter with that. And then the next day, as they were traveling down to a different part, where actually we often see the Golden-cheeked Warbler, found a group of these birds calling, and was able to track them and find where it was calling from. So here's this very special look at a maroon-chested ground dove, and you can kind of see that purpley tone, that red, almost wine color, maroon color on the chest. Very, very beautiful bird. Awesome.
Yeah. Hey, Peter, I lost connection there for a second, so I don't know if you told everybody, but I got this video just on Sunday, actually. On the Pontine Road, we have a good number of maroon-chested ground doves. Just last week I was there, and then this week again. On Sunday I went up there, and we had at least 6 to 8 individuals on
That's
the
amazing.
pontoon road.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I call a near mythical bird. So
Yeah.
it's amazing to see or even get a glimpse of one of these birds. We had where the bird was perched. So they'll vocalize for an extended period from just one perch, and if you can find that perch, then you're good. If you can't find the perch, it's a needle in a haystack for sure. But yeah, this is a really spectacular bird. Their movements are, so it's kind of a migratory bird within the tropics, and their movements are not well understood, but they seem to have something to do with the seeding of bamboo. So different species of bamboo will seed, say, every 7 to 14 years or something, and these birds will move around, following those seeding events. And then, when the bamboo is not seeding, they have to be somewhere. So apparently they all go to the pontoon road when there's no bamboo seeding in the tropics. Yeah,
That's
so
amazing.
welcome to Guatemala to see this bird for sure.
Yeah, so this is once in a lifetime experience probably, and just a really beautiful bird. So yeah, the bamboo. So this isn't just your standard bamboo. This are various species of cloud forest bamboo, which these birds kind of follow the seeding patterns and different migrations. So yeah. And I'd say the crown jewels of this whole experience would be the high cloud forest hummingbirds, especially the brilliant garnet-throated hummingbird with its many colors. This is another sacred bird to the Maya. It was considered to represent the sun with its full rainbow of colors. Just a treasure to find. And of course the wine-throated hummingbird, tiny little hummingbird, our smallest hummingbird in Guatemala, and it leks up in clearings in the cloud forest. On the peaks of the tallest mountains is where you can find it. And so if you can find one of these special lekking grounds, it's almost like a fairy dancing glade where these little tiny fairies hummingbirds will be dancing around and just putting on a show. So really special experiences birding in the cloud forest. Yeah. And so on behalf of Cloud Forest Conservation, I'd like to thank Travis Audubon and your members and everyone for attending this talk. And I think we'll be on with questions in a minute.
Great. Thanks, Peter. Thanks, John. I've been trying to follow in the chat here to see if we got any questions, and I do have a couple to ask you, but I wanted to thank you guys for sharing those Golden-cheeked Warbler photos. That was really a peak experience for us. I know, we think of Golden-cheeked Warbler as kind of our bird here in Austin, but it was really fantastic when we ran into a mixed feeding flock on the Pontoon Road, and I think there were 6 or 8 Golden-cheeked Warblers in it.
That's awesome.
It was really amazing. So thanks for sharing that. Some questions I've got here. What is the function of the horn on the Horned Guan, if any?
I think it's mostly just like a mating display, kind of like if you're familiar with turkeys. Turkeys will kind of puff up and kind of stick that their own like what's it called, the wattle and stuff up. So the Horned Guan, even though this one is always erect, I think it kind of is a mating display feature. So
right. Are any of the birds that you mentioned today also found in Belize if you're in similar habitat?
Yeah, sure. So especially some of the first ones we mentioned, the nightingale wren would be there, and in certain habitats, the pheasant cuckoo and some of the orioles and such. Those would be there, but Belize does not have the high elevations that we have around Coban, and once we get into these higher cloud forest birds, some of these birds would not be found in Belize.
Right. And I think one final question that I had for you, all these videos were taken by you guys, right? On areas that we could see on this tour of Guatemala.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really fantastic. And can you tell us again the name of your bird tour company that you've got down there? It's Chicanel, is that right?
Yep, that's correct.
Excellent.
Yeah, Chicanel birding, and we've been we kind of have started the company kind of during this time, and so mostly we've been doing a lot of local programming and doing some local events with birders in Guatemala, virtual kind of conferences and sharing our knowledge of birds with other local guides and such.
Yeah, so it's important to mention that Chicanel Birding Adventures, we partner with JB Journeys in the States. And so it's through JB Journeys that we do our trips in Guatemala. So if anybody's interested, definitely contact JB Journeys for the trips.
Right, great. And you've also got some trips to Colombia, I believe, also.
Exactly, yeah.
Excellent. All right, well, I think that wraps up for today. Thanks, John and Peter, so much. This is really fantastic, and I definitely highly recommend going birding with these guys down in Guatemala if you ever get the chance. Hopefully that'll be possible sometime in the near future. And
yeah, so hopefully next year we'll have some groups, and if not 2021, then 2022 we'll be on it.
And definitely please check out a community cloud forest conservation. The work that the Cahills have done with the young women and men in these Mayan villages in central Guatemala is just is really fantastic, and really appreciate everything you guys have done. And thanks everybody for joining. Hopefully we'll see most of you next week, and we will sign off.
Great. Thanks everybody.
Eric.
Great.
And thanks everyone.